Okay, it is 6:32. I want to go ahead and call this meeting. There it is.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Henderson. How are you?
Okay. How's everyone?
We're hanging in there. So it is again 6:32 p.m. I'm ready to call the meeting to order. We'll start with roll call, starting with Ward 1. Are you present? I thought I saw Julia on the.
Yes, Ward 1, Salsick, present.
Hi, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Ward 2, Henderson, present.
Thank you. Ward 3, Commissioner Wheatley, present. Ward 4. Ward 4, you're muted. We can't hear you. Okay, and it looks like you're waving, so I guess something's going on with your audio.
I'm present.
Okay. Thank you. At large?
Brooks present.
All right, great. So all 5 commissioners are present and accounted for. So, I hate this thing. All right, so we did the roll call. Commissioner Givens, you wanted to be added to the agenda, is that correct? You had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I sent it in so that you can put it on the screen.
And that
Okay.
has been added. That is number 8.
Thank you.
Okay, the version of the agenda that I have has number 8 is motion to suspend the rules. So can you send out the new agenda or either bring it up?
It's on the screen right now in front of you.
Okay, because the one I have is, I guess it's outdated. Can you send that to me, please? All right, anyone else want to add anything to the agenda before we get started?
Brooks, nothing from me. I prefer we keep it moving with what we have. Thank you.
Okay. Julia, Renee, anything you want to add?
Henderson,
Nothing from me.
Okay.
Henderson, nothing.
Okay, I don't have anything to add either. So we'll proceed with the items that we have in front of us. First item is Vision Insight software for Cottage City Police Department. I'm not sure who's going to be leading that discussion.
Chief Ayers will be leading it to start us
Okay.
off.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Well, we had a tracking patrol tracking system for the last couple of years called SilverTrack, and SilverTrack has been bought out by a larger company, and the larger company got in contact with me and told me that their price is going up significantly because SilverTrack is no longer in use, and that was like a couple months ago. So we discontinued our service, and it's pretty much I presented to the commission a couple months ago, I think 2 months ago, about the new price, and a couple of the commissioners said it was way too costly, and so we found another vendor that actually does the same thing that SilverTrack does, same capabilities, at almost the same price. And I'm trying to put this proposal in front of the commission to see if we can move forward with this new company because we don't have a patrol function that actually can generate reports for the town manager and myself in reference to the patrolling. So right now the price that we used to pay was $2,160 with SilverTrack, and we already have it in our budget for 2025, 2026. And the new price would be $2,835. And it does pretty much everything the other one does, but it does a more cleaner daily report that will actually submit to the town manager, and I receive one every morning. And we have test drive. Well, we actually tested the last 3 weeks. It does very well. Here's a little example of how it works. This is the morning report that we get every morning, showing the locations and also pictures. Each officer will have their own login, which it would stamp it, whoever is doing the patrolling and whoever's taking the picture. It also has GPS, so when the picture is taken, it's GPS tagged with the location of where the pictures were taken. We have 24 locations that we have to hit, and we have to hit them 4 times every shift. Each officer has to hit them 4 times every shift, at least 4. And it works out pretty well. And this is how the morning report comes in. And if the town manager could talk about it a little bit, he has received the morning reports and how he thinks about the product. But I think it's a great product.
I was gonna say, I agree. I think the product is good. It makes them actually get out of the patrol cars and actually you do the photographs, and instead of using the QR codes, I think this will be a lot better for the town.
Also, it has community contact, so that's gonna be inserted tomorrow, and I'm gonna start sending some daily reports with community contacts. Every time we get out the car and talk to a community member, we actually get documented, and it keeps tracks of our community contacts. And if anyone has any questions about the product.
Okay, we'll start with Ward 1. Julia, any questions or comments?
No questions, Ward 1.
Thank you. Renee?
Ward 2, Chief, you said it's no additional money for this, right?
It's like a $500 increase. I think it's probably $600 increase, but we have in our budget, we have in my budget to actually absorb that $600.
Okay.
But this
Then,
is the only one is affordable that I've seen. The rest of them are like very expensive because they have more bells and whistles that we really don't need for our size department.
Okay, no question. That was the only question. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief, if we go with this company and we decide that we don't like it, how are we able to get out of the contract?
Yes, ma'am. They wrote up to month to month. So that means that anytime we want to back out, same thing for Silvertrack, it was month to month. So I actually removed us. Once it wasn't working properly and the other company took over, I went ahead and exercised a right to discontinue with them because they wanted to charge us a little bit more. So this is month to month as well.
Okay. All right. Ward 4, any questions, comments?
Yeah, so I'll say that I like this. I hope that it's being used. I kind of got a sense that in Silvertrack, we did it a couple of months and then we didn't hear about it anymore for 3 months, and then when we did Sea Patrol, we would hear about it again. You know what I'm saying? So I would just like to. I definitely want to do it for another year to see how this goes. But I would say if we don't get any proper use out of it, results and data out of it, then we're not staying on it, getting the information from it, then I'd look to reassess it this time again next year. So, thank you.
All right. At large?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
No problem. Thank you.
Next agenda item.
Yes, the next agenda item is the migration from Barracuda to the Proof Point. Peak Nectology came to me and advised that the Barracuda is going up in price. And as we've all know, and I think we've all experienced here, that Barracuda can sometimes be very difficult. So they've thought that it'd be better for the town to switch to Proofpoint Advanced, which is the email security, spam, virus, and 0-hour threat protection, outbound filtering, email encryption, and data loss protection, disaster recovery with email continuity, advanced reporting. So that is going to increase to $107.73, which is a difference of $52.08. So you're looking at spending additional $52.08 monthly for the item to be added to it. I just want to make sure you all are aware that that's going to go up with our peak technology line item. So that's one of the reasons why I stuck it on the agenda tonight and want to make sure we get approval for it. And we'll have that done at the June 11th meeting.
Ward one, any questions or comments?
Ward 1, no questions.
Thank you. Ward two,
Ward two, I just want to just comment that, I would agree, what, John spoke of, and also what Pete, mentioned, that, that Proofpoint is a pretty good software, and it's a lot better than Barracuda. I just want to agree with that. It's supposed to be a lot better, system. So I just, that's all I just wanted to comment that it's a good product. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. No questions for me. I just would like to say, anything would be better than what we have right now, because Barracuda is not a great system.
I have to agree.
Ward four,
No comment.
thank you. At large,
No comment.
thank you. Next is ordinance 2025-02. This is the budget discussion.
That is correct. So we have the budget in here tonight. Of course, on June the 11th, our next town meeting, we will be voting on our fiscal year 26 budget. So we did want to make sure it's included in tonight's discussion in case there are any additional things that we need to address within the budget. And that's the reason why it's here tonight. So I leave it open to you all for discussion. And I know Todd is on the call or on the Zoom tonight. So if we have questions, we can work through this.
Ward one,
Ward 1, I don't have any questions.
thank you. Ward two,
Ward two, I just want to know why on, the red light camera fines, it dropped from 300,000 to 50,000. Why did it, drop that, so much?
Yeah, and I can answer that. So during fiscal year 25, the town saw collections. I think the red light camera contract was canceled. So collections went to significantly decreased. So I think we're getting the red light camera revenue back online, but our estimates are based on what we collected in fiscal year 25. So if collections turn out to be better next year, we can always amend the budget, but we stayed very conservative for next year's budget amount.
Okay, thank you. I yield back.
thank you. I have a question in regards to line item 5170, town hall utilities. It seems like a big increase. Any reason for that?
I can look into it.
Yeah, and I think we would just Commissioner Wheatley, it would have been based on year to date, like what we're seeing in fiscal year 25.
Mhm.
So if you give me a minute, I can pull up where we are year to date, but I think essentially we undershot what the budget should have been in fiscal year 25. So we're increasing that estimate for fiscal year 26.
Okay. Well, that would make sense if we didn't budget enough last year. And see, maintenance went up a lot too. Line item 5271. That's a $20,000 increase.
Yeah, and that's more around, what the staff used to do versus increasing the contract.
Okay, that's for the outsourcing.
Correct, correct.
Okay. So I know well, okay, maybe for the waste collection, that's the Bates contract.
Correct.
Did they go up?
We assumed, and I didn't dig into it, but we assumed like a 3% increase. That's pretty standard on what we see on all contracts. You see a 3% year-over-year increase.
Mm-hmm. So you have Silver Track in the budget, but it sounds like Silver Track is going away. So does that need to be corrected?
Yeah, what we'll do is, and this is a supplemental schedule. The legislation is the ordinance which drafts the budget.
Mm-hmm.
We'll rename the line in the accounting to whoever the new vendor is. So what I
Okay.
what I want to stress to you is this just summarizes all the pieces that end up in the legislation or the ordinance. Here's
Mhm.
what the accounting will look like next year, and we can rename the line without any.
But is that number right though?
I think the chief said we're within $500 of where it should be.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions right now. Ward 1, I'm sorry, Ward 4.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to be honest with you, look over it properly, but just having a quick glance at, like, you're looking at the police department, and I saw it says life insurance, it had 0, and previous it had an amount there. We typically pay life insurance policy for all of our employees, so can I give you some context on it?
And so that's just a formatting change. Life insurance is in with the health totals for the fiscal year. We didn't cancel the benefit. It's just a formatting change. It's the same bill and it's life and health in the same bill. So it's easier to consolidate and budget for the two of them combined.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
At large?
No, I think Commissioner Wheatley, you kind of addressed all the big differences that I had noticed. So no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's the resolution in front of us.
Yes, that is correct. That is the actual document that will be voted on at next week's meeting.
Okay. I believe there's something in the chat.
In the chat, I have from Jason Hancock. It says Pepco rate increased as of June 1st, up to 18 to 20%.
And that's in regard to the variance we're seeing in utilities this year as compared to the change from last year.
Okay. All right, anything else on this agenda item? Hearing nothing else, can we move to the next item, please?
Yes.
So this is the requirements and documentation for secondary employment of Cottage City Police
Oh.
Department.
Point of order, are we gonna vote on the budget?
No,
It gets voted next Wednesday, Todd.
Okay,
That's the regular town meeting.
okay.
no, this is just a work session, and we haven't suspended the rules to take the vote. Requirements and documentation for secondary employment of Cottage City Police Department officers. I'm not sure who's leading that discussion.
Yes, so we have put forth the application and agreements that need to be signed from the officers within the Carter City Police Department if they would like to pursue secondary employment. And I will defer to Town Attorney Kevin Best because I know he has put some effort into this. And he can sort of, Kevin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So what this does basically is it protects the town, looking at what, because I know it's requiring a $30 per period reimbursement of gas. For them. What else did you put in here, Kevin? Do you know?
Can you scroll down to the contract itself?
Yeah.
This contract is suggested by the local government insurance trust. It's in their risk management policy. I can't really see it very well. Let me see if I can pull up a copy of it.
Yeah, the print is very fine.
We're gonna zoom
on the
in.
screen.
Hold on. Is that better for everyone?
That's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so it requires the secondary employer, the representative from the police department, the chief, town manager to sign an agreement. In number 3 on page 3, it has that fuel usage, mileage use log is required, and the town would be reimbursed $30 per pay period for use of the vehicle, travel to and from the secondary employer's work site. You can go to the next page. It has a provision that says more than 3 minutes of idle time is considered unreasonable during 1 hour period, so that they don't sit and idle the car for 3 or 4 hours. If the in paragraph 5 on this page, if the officer is called back to duty, which is more urgent than working for the secondary employer, the secondary employer agrees to that, and the employee understands that. That's in paragraph 5 on this page. And here's probably one of the most important provisions of the entire agreement is 6. Secondary employer shall defend, indemnify, and save the town and the employer harmless from all losses, damages, attorney's fees, expenses, claims, lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera. In other words, and they're also acknowledged that the town will not be considered a dual agent that will be jointly liable for any claims brought against the employer, the employee, secondary employer, and employee. So basically, this fully indemnifies the town in section 6, and this was taken out of Legit's risk manual again. Then it requires liability insurance or certificate of insurance must be provided with an endorsement it specifically states that the officer or the officers of the town are an additional insured. I think so. In addition to the indemnification clause, you have a certificate of insurance that's required. In lieu of a certificate of insurance from the secondary employer, the officer can go out and get moonlighting insurance through the local FOP and surrender proof of that, and that will substitute for the secondary employer obtaining the insurance certificate or the insurance. Secondary employer will add and will pay whatever premiums are required to add employee to the workers' compensation insurance policy of the secondary employer. In other words, the town will not be liable for workers' comp claims that occur during the period of secondary employment. Permissions granted employee to work for the secondary employer may be revoked at any time if the town determines in its discretion that the work prescribed by the secondary employer upon the police officer conflicts or is inconsistent with the duties of the employee. Makes it clear that the secondary employer, if in its sole discretion, can stop the secondary employment in the interest of the town. The employer or the secondary employer acknowledges that it has received and reviewed employees' requests for other employment and agrees with the representations contained. Again, you have it signed by the secondary employee, which is the police officer, the chief of police, and a representative from the town itself, typically the town manager. And a copy is to go into the personnel file, copies to be sent to the town manager, and a copy to be left with the employee. So that is the agreement. That is different from the agreement that was proposed by the chief. I think it's a better situation for the town. And as an appendix to this same agreement, what we've done is extracted from the police manual those applicable provisions dealing with secondary employment so that the secondary employer, the employee, and a town official can actually read those and have them close in sight when the agreement is being negotiated and executed. Here are the conditions for work limitations. I think they speak for themselves. These have been in the Lexipol general orders for some time now. So I urge you to, by your next meeting, go ahead and read through these, see if there's anything that's problematic for you or that you want to change. Chapter 11 of your Code of Ordinances puts the responsibility of promulgating general orders on the chief, but gives you the authority to change them as you see fit. So if you can go ahead and read through and review these. These points and provisions were offered by Lexipol. These were not from Legit, they're from Lexipol. I think they're pretty good. I think they're pretty well done. And so what you need to do is have the officers sign this agreement, which has not been something that has been kept on file or has been done in the past recently for the 3 officers of the department that are working secondary employment. So that needs to be fixed as soon as possible before they can resume work. Otherwise, it puts the town in great risk of harm. Also, these provisions dealing with secondary employment are not the only provisions that apply, because we have allowed the use of town vehicles for secondary employment. And that is handled under a different policy in the general orders. But what we've gone ahead and done and put the $25 or the $30 reimbursement for gasoline usage in the agreement itself. That provision is not in the take-home vehicle policy, which is a separate policy. So there you have it. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Best. Chief, I see you have your hand raised. So, I do notice that you have your hand raised, but I really want to hear from the commissioners first, and then I'll come to you, Chief. I guess you have a question for Mr. Best. So we'll start with Ward 1.
I have no questions. Word,
Okay. Ward 2.
Ward 2, no questions. You're back.
Okay. I don't have any questions, but I have some reservations in regards to allowing the officers to use our vehicles for their secondary employment. I have some concerns, so I don't know how others feel about it, but right now I have concerns. So I'm just voicing my opinion, but I wanted to go on the record. I'm not really supporting that part of the document. Everything else I'm okay with. But if you guys decide to allow them to use their town vehicles to do their secondary employment, I don't think $30 in gas reimbursement is enough. I would definitely have to insist that that be raised if you guys decide to agree to that. And that's it for me. Ward 4.
So I think a couple of things, and I'll get to that part. If the commission continues to move forward, I think you have to have a yearly renewal, because insurance policies only last a year typically. And so we'd want to ensure, we'd want to know that it be in compliance, that insurance policy was renewed and updated, and so we'll continue to be protected. Two, I think that in light of all of this, you know, I think the commission just has to approve it. At the end of the day, I know we want to go through the town manager and the chief and all of that, but they tried that. I was against it when they did it. I said it should come for approval in front of the commission, you know, just to sign off on it. But they said, no, you'll just be notified. We were never notified, and then just all kind of loopholes or things fell through the cracks, and we can't allow that to happen. If it's commission approval, then it's a vote taken. Commission approves it, and then it's on the record, right? There is no ambiguity about it. I think you should, you know, I know this came out of a regular, some other form, but we don't have a deputy chief, so we just scratch that. I don't really like that in there. Two, I would say the gas amount, of course, that's not sufficient. It's more than just the gas. You know, we're talking about the mileage on these vehicles. We're talking about the wear and tear. We're talking about the maintenance, you know, and so on and so forth. Now, I get it, you know, I know what the secondary employments are paying. They're paying anywhere from $40, to $50 an hour. And so I think that, you know, by the use of the vehicle, if the commission continues to use it, continues to allow them to use it, then it has to be something that's truly where we're not actually paying for these people opportunity to use our vehicle in secondary employment. So, and that's all I have. I yield back.
Thank you. I'm sorry, at large.
Yeah, first off, I appreciate it, Mr. Best and John Hotzen for putting this together. It's definitely something we needed. But yeah, I agree with Wanda. It was always my understanding, and I was a little ignorant to this, but my understanding that they can drive the cars home, but I wasn't fully aware that you could go then drive it to another employer and do all of that. So I would fully support that measure. It's a take-home vehicle, but it's not for everything else. So we've seen how expensive this is. We just recently had $10,000 in a motor change. Drive it home, leave it, and use your personal vehicle for secondary employment. But I agree, Wanda. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. Okay, now we'll go to you, Chief. You had your hand raised. You had a question or comment?
Yes, sorry about that. Yes, first of all, Mr. Best, I read over the agreement. I agree on everything on the agreement except for one thing that I think is going to be problematic, and that's the number 8 on the agreement in reference to workman's comp. Workman's comp is something that is additional cost on a employer to add people to their workman's comp. If an officer get injured, we won't put a claim on the town, so I don't see why that employer has to show proof that they have workman's comp. Some of these companies are HOAs, homeowners associations, or they might be small little shopping centers that really don't want to add expense of workman's comp. And if a person put a claim in, that's the officer's responsibility to take care of their own expenses because it's off duty. No other police department in the area, state of Maryland, has asked any employers to actually fit a workman's comp policy for a, excuse me? Yeah, and the one I sent you was from county, the one I sent you before. But I agree with everything that's in agreement except for number 8. I think it'll be problematic to the point where we won't get any, I guess, any companies or any secondary employers to actually pick up our officers if that's in there. I don't understand why workman's comp has to be an issue for the town, because if we don't get injured on the town's property, we can't put a claim in for town. So I don't understand that one. Now, in reference to vehicles, we got to realize that other agencies, municipal police departments have a take-home car program. They also have secondary employment. And what happens is once you start getting to the point where you start taking benefits away from the officers, you will have a hard time recruiting and you'll have a hard time retaining officers. I understand the concerns about the vehicles. I agree with having some kind of fuel price to the officers. $30 not for a month, $30 per pay period. So that means it's like $70-something. I think $35 to $70 a month that goes toward gas. And you said the car can't idle. So it means that the car is not going to be using that much gas going to a part-time employment and just sitting there without being started. So $35 I think is reasonable for the car not being on the whole time, just going to that place and coming back. And also the hours that officer can work. They only can work probably 3 shifts a week, 3 to 4 shifts a week, and at 4 hours at the most. So you're not talking about a lot of gas being used for going to or from, and also not being able to idle the car. But that's just my opinions. The commission gonna have their own say, but if they could take 8 out of that agreement, I think it's going to be feasible for employers to actually sign the officers up for secondary employment. And you got to realize that this is a benefit that is used as a tool to actually recruit and retain officers in Prince George's County. Almost all municipalities have this some kind of program where officers can work secondary employment as well as take-home car program. And when you start tampering with those benefits, you're going to have a hard time getting quality officers to stay or come to the department. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Holson, can you make me a co-host, please?
I did.
I know, but I left the meeting, so I
Okay,
lost
hold
my
on.
access.
Hold on 1 second. Okay.
Thank you.
I also want to say that the commission should also highly recommend reducing the 32-hour time limit on the number of hours they can work and take it down to 20 hours. I think if you do decide to do the secondary employment for officers, I think that would actually afford for them to actually maintain and patrol Cottage City streets. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
Is that not in the document now?
It
the
is
agreement?
currently, it's at 32 in the Lexipol, and I went ahead and made the addendum to make sure that hopefully this can be changed.
So it's not, so again, it's not in the agreement currently? Or it is?
It's spelled out in the agreement. We can have to make sure that's in there.
Which one is it? Which number is it? Okay, is it number 3? Not to exceed 20 hours of extra duty?
Sorry, I missed that. Thank you.
Yes, it's number 3. Yes, it's
Mhm.
number 3.
Yeah, I see it on the screen.
But like he's saying, inside the general orders is 32. But like I said before, that's like 4 shifts, or 4-hour shifts, which you're not going to be using that much gas if you can't idle the car, because right here it says you cannot idle the car more than I think 3 minutes per hour. So it means that you're not going to use that much gas anymore, and the wear and tear is going to be controlled because of that was put inside there.
Well, I think if we do decide to go with this agreement, whatever the agreement says, the general orders have to match. So you would have to change it to 20 hours in the general orders. I don't think it should stay 32 either. Does anyone disagree with that? Does anyone
No,
agree?
I don't. I don't. I think the bottom line is, the town sets the policy, and general orders are guidelines. But ultimately, and there are things that we don't have any control over: the color of authority and how they operate in regards to, a crime being occurred, and roping off the streets, and those type of things we have no say over. But these are administrative issues in which we have a say because utilizing our vehicles and so on and so forth. So anytime we do that, you shouldn't be changing policy, administrative policies, without bringing that for approval in front of the commission. And just like the town manager can make proposals, ultimately those things have to be approved at some juncture through the commission. So I yield back.
Okay, just so I'm clear on what you're saying the 32 hours should remain in the general orders.
No, of course not. The town policy, if we go
Well-
with this contract, then the general orders need to follow suit, is what I'm trying to explain to
Well,
the
that's
chief.
what I just said. That's what I just said. And I asked, did anyone agree or disagree? And you said, no, I don't agree. So that's why I'm
Oh, no,
asking.
I apologize. I misunderstood.
Yeah, I said, if we go with this document in front of us that has not to exceed 20 hours, then the general orders that's in Lexipool should match the 20 hours that's in this document and not continue to say 32 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
that-
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
It could be changed, and like I
Yeah.
said, it could be changed and be had for the meeting next week for you approve both the new general
Mhm.
orders as well as the new document. It could be done, and so I will take care of that tomorrow and be ready for a meeting next week for the vote.
Okay.
This is Brooks. I agree.
You agree that it should match in both places?
Correct. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Renee or Julia?
I agree.
Okay.
And Chief, the only thing, like I said, the contract is an excellent contract. The only thing I have concerns about is number 8 on the agreement. If that can be either reworded, saying that that any workman's comp claim for any off-duty injuries will be the officer's responsibility, not the town's. If that could be in there instead of having the employer has to pay for workman's comp, that is a part-time employee that doesn't work more than probably 2 shifts a week, I think it's not going to be affordable for that insurer to insure that officer. So if it can be reworded to say that, the officer will, any injuries would be the officer's responsibility to cover it. I think that's more feasible. And the officer takes the risk, because we can't put a claim in on the town.
Chief,
Yes.
you stated your concerns. We will
Oh.
take that under advisement. We're not
Yeah.
voting on this tonight, so give us some time to think about it. Let's move on to the next item. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next agenda item, we're gonna talk about the sick and vacation leave of Cottage City employees. So I went, as we know, I've looked we're actually in the process of updating our employee handbook. Matt Peter is with us this evening from Legit. And he has graciously been working on updating, this handbook that was put forth before under a different town manager. But I think tonight, before we begin, I think we should talk about the sick leave and vacation accruals, and see if we are good with the numbers and figuring out, how you all want to handle the accruals and carryovers. So just so everyone's up to date.
Can you make it bigger, please?
Okay,
Thank you.
can you make it? I'm on just page 20. So employees may accrue up to 156 hours, 19.5 days of annual leave during the year. However, accrued annual leave exceeding 120 hours by December 31st will be forfeited. And then currently our sick leave is full-time employees shall earn sick leave at the rate of 104 hours or 13 days per year. Sick leave will accrue at the rate of 4 hours per pay period. Sick leave shall begin to accrue from the first day of employment and shall accumulate concurrently with the employee's continuous service. Sick leave may be accumulated up to maximum of 480 hours or 60 days. Beyond that point, no more sick leave can be accumulated. Sick leave is not compensable or transferable to other employees and will not be paid off at the time of employee's resignation, dismissal, or death. So first off, I think it's important that we discuss those numbers and make sure you're all good with those. And then also, given the fact that we've had some issues with our leave and taking time off and sick, I just want to hear from the commission as to, do you feel we need to amend the current handbook and policy to only allow employees to take leave within a given year? Or do you think we should keep it the way it is and roll it over? So I put forth that tonight to start.
Okay, so let me just say something real quick before we start the discussion. Commissioner Givens, if you can chime in on this, that'd be helpful. I believe in the past, we have allowed staff to transfer their sick leave to other staff members if they weren't using it. So it was something that they had worked out with the health insurance where they could, like, for example, if I say I'm a single person and then someone who has a family, they need more sick leave because maybe their child got sick or something like that, and I'm not really using my leave because I'm healthy, I can donate my leave towards them. And I forgot what the plan was called, but Commissioner Givens, do you remember we had allowed that when it was back when Greg and Anthony were here?
Yeah. So, so I didn't see it that way. What I saw was during hardships. It had nothing to do with families or being single. It had to do with hardships. And then that had to be brought forth to the commission for approval. And that's a long history thing that they've done since Ms. Shannon was here. But in that same vein, but no, not just arbitrarily, now I want to give, because I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna give all my sick leave to Bob, no, I don't agree with that, so I think that we should continue that in the vein of hardships to be approved by the commission.
Well, I don't
yield back.
believe I said you can just donate it to anyone. I believe I said if their child became sick and they didn't have enough sick leave to cover that, I would
Well, that would be a
consider
hard.
I would consider a child a hardship. I don't know how you feel about it, but if my child
Well,
gets sick, that's a hardship for me.
Well, again, I think that it's still, I'm not, here to, parse that, but I'm here to say that still has to be brought forth to the commission for consideration in regards to the situation. That's all.
Yeah, I think we did say that we had to give approval, but we did say we would allow it under, special circumstances. So we'll start with Ward 1. Any questions, comments?
I
I'm
don't know.
sorry, can you zoom in a little bit? It's hard to see this document.
Yeah, it's
I'm
it's
sorry,
very
Julie.
tiny. Yeah, it's very tiny.
Is that better for you all to see?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead, Julia.
Ward 1, yeah, I don't have any questions. I think my only comment would be that I think it's important that we allow people to roll over their especially their sick leave. Just because otherwise that could put a hardship on, especially because flu season's like in the winter. So if somebody gets sick in January, we want them to have the leave for that. But I think that having limits on that is good, and I agree with what Commissioner Givens was saying about and Commissioner Wheatley about allowing for people to share their sick leave, but obviously within reason and approval.
Okay, thank you. Ward 2.
Yes, I would suggest to have a limit on how much annual leave is rolling over at the end of the year.
Do you have a
you
number
back
in
on.
mind? Do you have a number in mind? Mr.
There's already a limit, just so you know, Renee. There's already a limit. It's 120 hours.
Well, on the screen, it says 156 hours for annual leave.
Yeah, but you can't roll. I don't believe you can roll over any more than 120, right? I think
It
you
says
can
you
get
can
150.
accrue up to 156, but you can only roll over 120. So on December
Right.
31st, if you have 120 that continues, anything above that would be forfeited.
Does that number sound reasonable to you, Renee? Do you want to change it? Mr. Henderson, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I got cut off. My laptop did an update and went down. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah, I had to go to another computer.
Okay. So did you hear the number?
I don't have an exact number at this time.
Are you okay with the numbers that are currently on the screen? Because
Oh.
that's what they're using now. 156 hours is what they can accrue. They can only carry over 120.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay.
You're back.
Okay, thank you. I think they should be allowed to roll over their hours if they don't use them. I think they should be allowed to roll over the 120. Anything over that should be forfeited. Let's see, Ward 4, Commissioner Givens. Anything?
The way it's written is the way I continue to see it, as we've already had it in the past. I yield back.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Brooks at large.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. And I think even if we address this, I don't think it addresses John's concerns. I think there's other policies you can put into place, like no more than 2 days consecutive without a doctor's note, no more than 4 days in a pay period within, without a doctor's note. There's things like that that can address problems. But I don't think this addresses that problem. And I think it actually causes more, because if you take away this rollover, then when there is a serious medical concern or something, people, they don't have the sick leave to rely on. And I wouldn't want to be that kind of employer. So I think we should keep it as is. Thank you.
Thank you. So it sounds like we're all in agreement. There's a consensus that we will continue the rollover policy.
Great. All
Any-
right, so now we will dive into the employee handbook. Mr. Peter, do you want to chime in and provide insight?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I want to say it was about 18 months ago that I was working with a former town administrator, I think it was Ms. Richardson, with regards to some updates. We had proposed updates, and then I attended a meeting similar to this, where some additional changes were proposed by a member of the commission who doesn't seem to be here anymore. And then after that, I think Ms. Richardson left and the project got stalled, so I apologize for that. We haven't made any substantive changes since the last time I presented this. When I was asked to work on the project, there were two things that sort of stood out. One of the things that we always look for at Legit when we are reviewing an employee handbook is looking at things like your harassment policy to make sure that it is fully up to date, includes all protected characteristics, that it includes protections for everyone who might be involved in a claim, even those who have not been harassed, but are simply being retaliated against for supporting someone. So we made a series of proposed changes in those areas. One of the big issues at the time that was raised to me by Ms. Richardson were some issues with regards to the employee discipline policy. The policy as written when I was given the handbook had a rather long and complex process by which an individual could be disciplined and who could impose discipline. There was a lot of back and forth once someone was going to be disciplined for appeals and things of that nature. So part of what we did was streamline that process, and that's laid out in here. But the most important thing that I was told by both Ms. Richardson and Mr. Best at the time was that although we were making changes, that at the end of the day, I believe it's your town charter that says that you as the commission have the ultimate authority to terminate individuals. So there were no changes. There were no changes to that. We tried to streamline the process, but we did nothing to eliminate the authority of this commission to make decisions with regards to staffing. One of the big issues that was not resolved at the time, but still needs to be resolved, is the commission's position with regards to cannabis. Certainly Maryland has legalized recreational cannabis use. What that really means is you can do it in the confines of your own home. You can't consume it really outside of your home legally under Maryland law. The question is for any employer, including local governments, as to whether or not you would like to have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to cannabis use. We have some employers amongst our local governments that have said, we do not care what you do on your own time, as long as you do not come into work under the influence of cannabis, do not consume cannabis during work hours. We don't care what you do in evenings or weekends. We also have jurisdictions across the state that continue to take what I will call a harder line and say that We have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to any drugs. The federal government still considers cannabis and marijuana to be an illegal drug. So if for some reason you take a drug test and you fail it, testing positive for marijuana, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, you can still be terminated. A decision needs to be made on that issue because the drug and alcohol policy references use and abuse of illegal drugs and alcohol. Cannabis is in more of a gray area right now. So what Legit has suggested to its members is that you look to revise policies like your drug and alcohol policy and a few other policies that you have. You have a policy relating to accidents and the operation of vehicles that touch on drugs that might need to include a separate reference to cannabis. Again, simply because it is sort of in that gray area right now. I would think that you need to make some changes on page 11, page 14, page 16, and to Appendix B. What I would propose, though, is that if the commission could provide some guidance that working with Mr. Best and the town administrator, we could make some proposed changes. It's not everywhere you see the word drug, you don't need to add the word cannabis necessarily. It's a little more nuanced than that, but with some guidance from the commission, I think the changes can be easily made. Like, for example, thank you for calling up the policy. If you look at it, Cottage City has adopted a drug-free workplace policy which prohibits possession, use, sale of, you may want to amend it to say illegal drugs, cannabis, and alcoholic beverages by Cottage City employees. Actually, possession, huh? Oh, that's actually, you know what? Sorry, I look at that. By Cottage City employees in the workplace, that's how it should be interpreted. So yeah, adding the word cannabis in there in that opening paragraph arguably would be helpful. Another question is, some of our local governments have stopped testing because they don't have zero tolerance policies. They have stopped testing for cannabis and marijuana in pre-hired drug tests. They've just eliminated it from their drug panels. That's something else that you might want to consider. As the reference in the second paragraph is to the possibility of having to participate in a drug test. So, but it's not something I think that we can simply discuss here and make all the changes. I think with some guidance, the three of us can hash it out and make some appropriate recommendations.
Well, thank you so much. Were you finished or did you have more?
Nope, that's it, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know it's been a long time since we've met, and I know you've done a lot of hard work. So we'll go around and hear from each commissioner. We'll start with Ward 1 Commissioner Julia.
Word 1, my thoughts are, I hold the belief that what people do in their private time is their business. And so I don't think, being that Maryland has cannabis as recreationally legal, I don't think that we should test for it. I do think that we should have wording about them not utilizing it while on the job. But being that cannabis stays in the system, you can't really test, if somebody goes home at night and wants to partake. I think that should be their private business. I
Okay.
yield back.
Okay, thank you. Ward 2,
Um,
Renee.
yes, I'm back completely now. The computer's back up. Thanks for your patience and thanks for the wonderful job you did here on the handbook. The one thing I know that with the cannabis, most employees that that in other places, it has to be what type of job they're in, you know. So I still think it has to be in there in the handbook. In certain cases, if you're in very sensitive kind of jobs dealing with safety sensitive like equipment and things like that, you sure don't want someone you know with intoxicated with cannabis of any type.
Certainly,
yield back.
I apologize. The one thing that, you know, that you can never do is federal law prohibits anybody with a CDL driver's license from consuming cannabis. So there's nothing that you can put in a policy that's ever going to change that. I don't know whether any of your employees are required to have a CDL license or not. So that is certainly for some of our local governments, they essentially have two tiers of employees. They have those that we don't care what you do on your free time. Then there are those that, oh, because you have a CDL license, we absolutely care what you do on your free time. And if we find out that you're smoking cannabis or otherwise consuming it, we're going to have to comply with federal law when it comes to separation from employment. Law enforcement creates a somewhat slightly different issue. I've heard some who say because of some federal gun laws, they believe that law enforcement officers shouldn't be able to consume it under any circumstances. Others say it's a misinterpretation of the law. I don't think anybody's given a clear, definitive answer as to that yet. So.
Okay, was that it, Mr. Henderson?
Yes. I yield back.
Okay, thank you. So I think I'm gonna be in the minority on this one. I personally, although I know that Maryland has legalized cannabis, I am in this, I guess, the minority that feels that it should be a zero tolerance in the workplace. And I understand what you do at home on your own personal business, that's fine. But I don't think anyone should be indulging while they're at work or come to work under the influence. So me personally, I think I prefer a zero tolerance, but if the majority is believes differently from me, I will accept that and I will not go against the majority. Okay. I do think Mr. Henderson made a good point though. I do think if it's someone who's like has a CDL license or is operating heavy equipment, I think we have to consider that as far as what they do in their personal time. They definitely can't come to work under the influence. Let's see, who's next? Commissioner Givens, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I don't know if I was confused or I missed something in the conversation. There is no allowable to come to work high or anything like that, right?
I believe that would be a violation of your existing policy to come
Okay,
to work
all right,
high
cool.
or to
I
consume.
just okay. I just wanted. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I just want to make sure I didn't misunderstand something. Okay, so in regards to, I would say, that in regards to like I heard what you said about the misinterpretation or whatever, but he just recently charged Hunter Biden with the thing in regards to him using drugs and buying and getting a gun. So I would say I don't see the misinterpretation. If the federal government has charged someone legally in regards to that, I don't see how that would not apply to us as a town. So in regards to police officers use on and off duty, regardless, I don't think they should be. I think they should be restricted from as a nature of the type of job that they've inherited. So other than that, I yield back.
So are you against cannabis or you're saying you're okay with cannabis? Because that's the question.
I mean, I'm confused. I mean, what are you? I mean, against it? I mean, for like for using it at the job? No, of course not. I'm
No,
against having.
So the question Mr. Peters needs us to answer is, are we going to have anything in the employee handbook stating that cannabis is zero tolerance, meaning you can't use it at all, and if you test positive for it, then you can be terminated? Or are we going to put something in the handbook that says, hey, we don't care what you do in your personal life. Of course you can't come to work
I
that
got it.
way, but
I got it. I got
if
it.
you
I got
do
it.
it at home, and we're not going to test you, and we're not going to say
Yeah.
anything about it, you won't get fired.
Yeah, I got it. I got it now. So no, again, of course, I think it's relative to the nature of the job. So I think there has to be a two-tier system. You know, you do what you want to do at your house or whatever. But if you are employed as a police officer, you're not allowed to do it. Just like in DC, you can't smoke weed and stuff like that. And also, if you have a CDL license, and you can't smoke marijuana as well. So I yield back. Those two jobs should be stipulated.
Okay, but if you're an admin or
Yeah, that's fine.
it's fine.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Henderson, I see you have re-raised your hand, so I'm gonna go to Commissioner Brooks and then I'll come back to you. Commissioner Brooks.
I agree with Demetrius's final conclusions, but I would extend it I would also extend it to anyone who drives a town vehicle. Because what I really don't want to see is public works. I don't want to see if John Hotzen, even though he's admin, driving, the town manager car around town, and gets into an accident and finds out, he tests positive for weed. All four people doing what they want to do in their personal lives, but if you drive vehicles that you're accountable for that. And so, yeah, I think it really needs to extend to anyone who drives a town vehicle. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Henderson.
Yes, I mean, I really still would state that, yeah, that it should be testing, because people that's driving, officers carrying a weapon, they have to be tested for the marijuana and even alcohol. I mean, at Pacific times, because those, you got a lot of safety features in there, and people's lives are at stake. And when I was mentioning about anything, I definitely didn't say without testing. You definitely need testing periodic. I yield back.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Peters, sounds like the consensus is, excuse me, that we will have something in the employee handbook in regards to cannabis. There'll be a stipulation that if you drive a town vehicle or have a CDL license or a police officer, that you cannot have cannabis, or you cannot use cannabis, I should say.
Okay, I think I can certainly work within those parameters and share something with the town administrator and with Mr. Best, making some proposed changes. If it's going to apply to law enforcement officers, I suspect that there is, and this is, the chief would understand better, there may be a provision in the general orders that would also need to be adopted, or something either updated, added, or revised in the general orders that might relate to this. I've never seen your general orders, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, you can work with the town manager, and he'll work with the chief if he needs to. Do
Okay.
you need any other information from us, or?
No, I think that I have sufficient information to make some proposed changes that I'll share with the other gentlemen. And it'll all be presented at one of your upcoming meetings, I assume.
And do you think it'll be presented where we'll be able to take a vote?
I would think so. I mean, I understand the guidance that I'm given, so assuming that the three of us can get it right, yeah, you should be able to take a vote, I would think.
Yes, okay. I really do like the work that you did in streamlining the disciplinary actions, so that would be helpful too. If we can clean that up. Because I know in some areas it was the document would say something in one page and then on another page it would contradict what it said. So it makes sense to make everything more cohesive.
Yep.
So we're
I
looking
believe we've achieved that.
good. We're looking forward to finally getting this document officially approved because I know the staff have been asking for it.
And our goal, just so you know, July the 1st with the upcoming fiscal year start, we're hoping to, on July 1st, have, Mr. Peter come, to release the handbook, as well as do our sexual harassment training and civility training as well. So, and talk about the handbook and see what employees think and have questions, they can get answers and all of that. So that is our goal. That's where we're leading towards, just so everyone's aware.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Alright.
Mr. Peter.
All right, then if I'm not needed for anything else, I just want to thank you for your time. And I look forward to continuing to work with you guys to bring this matter to a resolution. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
evening, folks.
You too. Thank you so much. All right, so next up is CSX overnight construction. Are you leading that one, John?
Commissioner Brooks is, he had asked that to be
Okay,
put on the agenda tonight.
Commissioner Brooks. You have the floor.
I can't even see what all this scrolling. I can't even see the document. What is it?
There is no document with this one, sir.
Well, okay, I'm sorry, I missed it. Was this in
The
regard to
CSX
CSX?
overnight construction, you had asked to put it on there. You said you wanted to ask some questions of Attorney Best.
Oh
Did you get
yeah,
an
so
email?
let me try to go back. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared for this, but yeah, so Mr. Best, just to kind of give you a rough overview of what happened over the last couple of weeks, CSX has been running new tracks. They've been doing it like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. I think one time I was going till 1 in the morning. And a neighbor had actually emailed frustrated, but I heard, many other neighbors were quite frustrated with the late timing of the construction. And so they called PG County Police non-emergency line. And basically they were told that CSX is supposed to update some folks. John, do you remember offhand who it was?
Yeah, they had emailed because they were trying to figure out when the construction's done overnight, they want to know how come that they were not advised as to they're doing overnight construction. Because as we know, most people, you can't do construction on homes or things of that sort between a certain time frame because of the noise. So the issue is how can the town receive notification if CSX is going to come to town to do construction so that we can let our residents know, but also aren't they held to a standard of not doing construction during the middle of the night when residents are trying to sleep?
So I found the email real quick.
Okay.
So this was from Brittany Drakeford, who's on Cottage Terrace, right in line with the train tracks. She called the CSX police, indicated that they submit paperwork to DOT, who is then supposed to notify the public. She said it may be helpful to confirm this process. Yeah. So I mean, it would be really great if we did it, get some kind of notification, but so I wanted Mr. Best's opinion on it just to see if he was aware from other municipalities, maybe who border train tracks. If if they get any communication about this, it has gone on for years. When they decide to do train track maintenance, they do it late in the evening hours. And of course, yeah, it's not in line with PG County code, but yeah, so I just said I would bring it up in the meeting.
Okay, I thought that Brittany had gotten a response because someone told me that she got a response from county, and county said that they're not allowed to work at night. And I thought that the maintenance work at night had stopped. So is it still continuing?
No, it's not continuing, and I don't think it stopped because of her responses.
Mhm.
Because it was going on until they completed the project. She did say though that she called the county police department and filed a noise complaint. Because the county's says no construction after 9 p.m. over a certain decibel. She said they ended up leaving shortly after I put the call in. But her original email, I think, was like a Friday night. I got home late on a Saturday night and they were still working till 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So, and it wasn't a light work. It was like the little rail carts beeping, backing up. They were doing some kind of line thing. Anyway, I wanted to get Mr. Best's opinion, see if there's anything that he knows of that can be done if this is pretty much all municipalities that this happens to.
Mr. Best?
Yeah, you know,
Sounded it.
there's a couple of issues here. First, the county does not have jurisdiction over the matter of noise. The town has jurisdiction. The way the law works is when a town adopts a noise ordinance, it pushes out the county. So whoever called the county barked up the wrong tree. Yeah, a lot of people get mistaken in what the difference of authority is. And there are some towns that don't have noise ordinances, and so the county noise ordinance applies. So there's confusion. But you all do have a noise ordinance, so you could regulate it. But for the fact that the train tracks, I don't believe are within your corporate limits. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're right outside the corporate limits. That being said, though, you could pass an ordinance. There's a special provision in the local government article that says you can enforce nuisance ordinances outside your corporate limits up to 1/2 mile. But you'd have to put a provision in your code that says you're doing that. And then you could regulate the railroad tracks that are technically outside your corporate limits. I don't get a lot of issues with railroads because not many of my towns have railroads that cause problems with nuisances in their corporate limits. So it's not something I get a lot of problems with in my municipal practice, but that's my 2 cents thus far based on something that was just handed to me just now. So did you have any
Yeah, and
questions
sorry.
on what I said?
Yeah, sorry for just handing it to you. It was just email from residents, but one thing we found out recently though is we were looking at possibly doing some work that we weren't sure on trees. And we weren't sure if it was park property or Cottage City property. And when park came back, they identified a lot of the land on Cottage Terrace that we always thought was CSX property as their property. I mean, does that come into play at all? I get what you're saying about the provision that you could, say, hey, the nuisance ordinance within 1/2 mile or something, but I'm just curious if there's
I'm
kind
not sure
of,
what you're driving at because the CXX railroad right away is in there, titled to them. They own it. It's, approximately 20-foot right of way or more, probably 40 to 50 feet. And it runs through your neighboring town there, which is Brentwood, right? And then it goes up through North Brentwood, which is another town I represent. I haven't had any issues reported by Mayor Petrola Robinson about the noise or work by the CXX line in their corporate limits, but I'm not sure what parkland property and whether they own property. Unless that parkland property was in the corporate limits, you have no jurisdiction over it. So if you want to have jurisdiction over the CX railroad, you're going to have to amend your ordinance to say that you're going to enforce your ordinances slightly outside your corporate limits, which the law allows.
So then what, I mean, what would we do after that? Cite them with code enforcement?
You could cite them, or you could go fetch an injunction in the district court and force them not to do this type of behavior that violates your noise ordinance. A lot of times if you cite them, they don't care. Maybe it's you know, like flea biting an elephant's back. It's just not enough to compel them to change their behavior. But if you know, assuming the ordinance allows you also to seek injunctive relief from the court, that would be the option. You could get an order from the court not to do that.
Helpful. I mean, I think that was the whole purpose, just to kind of see if you had any input of, you know, what we could possibly do. So appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Chief, you have your hand raised?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Best is correct, but another thing that, you know, Commissioner Brooks can do is contact Senator Augustine. They can actually, you know, put something on the floor next year to make a law that, you know, CSX has to notify neighboring areas if they do night work and force them by doing a Maryland state law to force them to make notifications. That's my suggestion, is probably to talk to somebody, so Senator Augustine's office.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, we were working with Glenn Ivy's, some of his office as well. But that's a good suggestion to reach out to Senator Augustine as well. Thank you.
All right, so moving on to the next item on the agenda, stop sign proposal. I believe that's Commissioner Givens.
Yeah, it's Commissioner Gibbons, you said? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, so so the stop sign is a couple of things. If you could pull that up for me.
It's on the screen.
Oh, seems like
We'll make it bigger for you in a moment.
Okay, thank you. All right, there we go. I just see. Oh, there it is. Okay, I think okay, there it is. I see it. All right, so there's a couple of things. So if you look at the fourth picture over, there is a stop sign, and then it has this long, skinny reflector. I think just in light of what we're trying to do is to, you know, get people to recognize the stop signs a little bit more visible. I've seen this in University Park, and I think that's a great idea. And the cost, it looks like they're about $30, $15 for only 30 inches though. So I'm trying to find a longer one, you know, and maybe perhaps we could use that as a test run over there at the tot lot, as well as all the way under the stop signs. They're about $15 each. So we would need 4. And all of these are menial costs and that John could cover. However, I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to make any changes without confronting the commission, because these are affecting our community. It's not even so much about the cost. It's more so about making sure the commission is okay with it. I saw the third picture over to from your left. There's if you zoom in, they have on the ground and the asphalt, they have painted red, right? And then on top of it, it has stop, you know, and very visible, and you can't miss it. And I think that'd be a good idea. John Brooks had made the recommendation that we put it over by the tot lot as a trial was him as well. So I think these are opportunities, and the cost of doing even just those 4 would be less than $500, and you'd have left over materials to do additional ones in the event that you wanted to do them in the future. So you're looking at, you know, 5-gallon paint bucket of red paint is it's $150, and gallon of white is $30 a piece. So but yeah, so anyway, that's just kind of what I threw out there, and the stencil, of course, is about about 200 with the line as well. So I just wanted to put that out there and see what the commission's thoughts were on this. And so once we get Jorge on board, it wouldn't be any time tomorrow or anything like that, but it's something we can put in the queue as to something to work on in the future before the winter time hits. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Givens. We'll start with Ward 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks really nice, so I would be okay with it.
Thank you. Ward 2.
I think it's a great idea, as long as, Mr. Best, just want to make it, as long as it's permissible, it's a great idea. I yield back.
Okay, thank you. I also think it's a great idea. I love it. I want to know, can we add the flashing lights to the stop sign? Can we get a quote for that? Because I know that's something we've talked about doing.
Yeah, so that's something that you know what, I'm happy to do one. But I believe John was looking, John Holson, there was a grant that Edmondson had gotten, and I'm not sure if that's been assigned out yet to apply for the grant to get them done. And then we wouldn't have to do anything because the company comes in and the grant fully covers everything. But if we don't get a grant, then of course, it is definitely something we could conceivably do. And I'd have to get those costs, those numbers back to you because they'll be different than what the numbers are for a grant. I yield back. Thank you.
Okay. So hopefully, Mr. Holson, you can let us know about that grant.
Yes,
But
definitely. I'll
in
check
the
with Bob.
meantime, I think it's a great idea. I totally support you on this one. Commissioner Brooks, you're next.
Yeah, no, I fully support it as well. I think it doesn't look tacky, but it looks like it probably does the purpose of stopping traffic and slowing traffic down. So I think we need to do more of these measures and try to look after residents of the town. So I fully support it and appreciate Commissioner Givens for getting all the information on this. Thank you.
Commissioner Givens, I have one quick question. So the third picture where they have the stop painted on the concrete or the asphalt, is that reflective paint as well or no? Or do you
No,
know?
it's not. It's not reflective paint. I do know that. But could the white be reflective? I'm not sure. I'd have to check into that. And that may be something from a legal perspective that we might have to ask Kevin. That's why I'm glad Kevin's in the meeting, because I want to make sure this would be in compliance with whatever state regulations that we're under. If Kevin could speak to that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Best? Mr. Best, are you there?
Sorry. You know, I don't think the manual for uniform traffic control devices doesn't care what color the pole is or the post. They only dictate the traffic control device, which is the sign. So I think you're okay, and I think it's a pretty good idea.
What about the asphalt, the painting of the asphalt? That was done in Chevy Chase, up off of Connecticut and East West Highway, back up in there in Zone 3 or whatever it's called, Section 3.
Let me do a look-see in the manual on the painting. Maybe if this meeting goes a little bit longer, I'll have time to look at that.
If not, you could just get back to John H. and let us know. We won't do anything before we get some type of legal clarity. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Continue.
Okay, so that's the last thing we have on the agenda other than public comments. And I know there were some comments in the chat that we didn't get a chance to read into the record. So if anyone would like to speak now, you have the opportunity. You have 3 minutes. If you could state your name and your address or organization that you're with, that would be great. Let me see. Any hands raised?
Do not see any hands raised as of right now.
Okay, can you check the chat, please?
I'm looking in the chat. And there is no one else in the chat.
Okay.
No
You want to
comment.
read the comments?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Ms. Lucia Proctor says sick bank. Shouldn't it go into sick bank? Instead of rollover, it goes into a sick bank. It's an opt-in thing. If they contribute to the bank, they have access to in case of hardship. If they don't contribute, no access. Commissioner Brooks, a lot of government and higher education use the rollover. Ms. Proctor, right. But a portion goes into the sick bank instead of forfeit leave bank. Commissioner Brooks, no, you usually get a certain amount of sick time and you can roll over a portion and you have access, you lose it. Some may do sick banks, but many don't.
I would like to clarify excess, not access. So whatever excess you have, you lose it. Thank you.
Apologies.
No worries.
Okay, so I guess we don't have any public comments other than those that were in the chat. So we do need to go into a closed session tonight. So we're going to have to suspend the rules to go into a closed session. Does anyone want to make the motion to suspend the rules? It's 8:08.
Henderson make a motion to go into closed session.
No, we got to suspend the rules first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Brooks, I make a motion to suspend the rules to go into a closed session at 8:08 p.m.
Is there a
Henderson
second?
second.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks, for your motion and Mr. Henderson for your second. We will call for the vote at this time, starting with Ward 1.
Ward 1, aye.
Henderson, Ward 2, aye.
Ward 3, Wheatley, aye.
Ward 4, Givens, aye.
At large, Brooks, aye.
Thank you. There were no nays or abstentions. That motion did pass. So now we need a motion to actually go into closed session, but let me read the reason why we're going into closed session first. So this meeting will be closed under General Provisions Article 3-305B to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction. Any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. And we are also going to consult with our counsel to obtain legal advice. Is there a motion to go into closed session at 8:10?
So moved as read, Givens.
Thank you, Commissioner Givens. Is there a second?
Henderson second.
Okay, so I heard Commissioner Henderson make the second. So we will now call for the vote, starting with Ward 1.
Ward 1, Salsick, aye.
Ward 2, Henderson, aye.
Ward 3, Wheatley, aye.
Ward 4, Givens, aye.
Brooks, aye.
Motion passes. There are no nays or abstentions. It is 8:10 p.m. and we are now in closed session. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Good night.
Good night. All right, so it is 9:07 p.m. We are now back in open session. Those in attendance for our closed session were the 5 commissioners, the town manager, and the town attorney. Again, we discussed a personnel matter under Article 3-305B. We did discuss the possible hiring of one employee. We discussed possible salaries. We did not come to a conclusion yet. So I think we will table that decision until the town manager comes back with more information that was requested by one of the commissioners. We also discussed another personnel matter in regards to another employee. The the body did come to a decision in how to proceed further, and their decision was that decision was relayed to the town attorney and town manager. What else did we discuss? Oh, and we also discussed conduct of behavior and conduct and civility of the commission and commissioners, and that was just a regular discussion. No votes or anything were taken in regards to that. And that was it. So I think I covered everything that we discussed in the closed session. Again, we did not take a vote on anything. We just had discussion, and we received legal advice from our town attorney. So it is now 9:09 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Brooks, so
Or
moved.
discussion?
Given
I heard-
second.
Okay, so I heard Commissioner Brooks make the motion to adjourn at 9:09, and I heard Commissioner Givens make the second. We will now call for the vote, starting with Ward 1.
Ward 1, Salsic, aye.
Ward 2, Henderson, aye.
Ward 3, Wheatley, aye.
Ward 4, Givens, aye.
Brooks, aye.
Motion passes. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
You too.
Thanks.
Have
Have
a
a good night,
wonderful
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.